It's Friday, the 8th of December 2023. Welcome to the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories in 5 minutes, and they're all big stories today, so I better get going. Story number 1, the Albanese government has done a deal with the Greens and the crossbench to pass the most contested part of its industrial relations overhaul, that is, its labour hire laws, marking a big win for Labor just as Parliament finishes for the year.
Workplace Relations Minister Tony Burke yesterday said the government would split the Closing Loopholes Bill into 2 parts. The first tranche, including the same job, same pay laws for labour hire workers, which target arrangements used by companies like BHP and Qantas, passed the Senate yesterday afternoon. Another bill with gig economy changes, casual conversion rights and minimum conditions for truck drivers will be debated next year. Now, Senators Jackie Lambie and David Pocock confirmed they'd support the split, which will also include dramatically higher fines and criminal offences for wage and super underpayments and stronger rights for workplace delegates. Plenty in this legislation. It'll make industrial manslaughter a crime. It'll include better support for first responders with post-traumatic stress disorder, discrimination protections for workers subject to domestic violence, expanded asbestos regulation to include silica, and closing a loophole where large businesses that go insolvent are covered by small business exemptions to avoid redundancy pay.
So what's the reaction been to all of this, Sean? I know the miners were very vocal during the process. I'm guessing they won't be happy.
They're not happy, but I'll come to them shortly. The crossbenchers are happy because for their support, the government's agreed to introduce reforms, including guidelines on independent medical assessment of workers, more money for the Fair Work Ombudsman, Small Business Advisory Service, and there's going to be a review of the ComCare scheme. The miners, not happy. Minerals Council of Australia Chief Executive Tanya Constable said the Albanese government had declared war against the resources sector and the laws would render some mining projects unviable. She said the reckless decision looms as a tipping point and is an act of economic vandalism. The passing in the Senate is good news for the Albanese government. It's really been suffering in recent weeks ever since that High Court decision ruling against indefinite detention. At least it can go to Christmas thinking it's had a win.
All right, story number 2, Sean. Virgin Australia and its cabin crews will meet today under the auspices of the workplace umpire in an effort to avoid industrial action during the holiday travel season.
The Transport Workers Union wants increases Virgin says will push total salary costs, including super and payroll, up by 35%. The airline says there's more to that, though. It says the union's proposed changes to rostering and allowances would actually push it up more like 63%. Now, Virgin's cabin crew have voted in favour of the right to seek protected action earlier this month. They can now strike at any point after giving 3 days' notice. The airlines offered cabin crew 15% over 5 years. The Fair Work Commission will oversee today's talks to try and resolve the dispute. Let's hope they get there.
Story number 3, one of the country's best-known radio announcers, former 2GB broadcaster Alan Jones, has denied accusations of indecently assaulting multiple young men and threatened legal action against the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age following an investigation by the newspapers published yesterday.
The former speechwriter for Prime Minister Malcolm Fraser has been accused of using his position of power to prey on young men, allegedly inappropriately touching them without their consent. Now, in New South Wales, non-consensual sexual touches can result in a maximum penalty of up to 5 years imprisonment. Jones's legal team at Mark O'Brien Legal released a statement. It said, "Our client denies ever having indecently assaulted the persons referred to, and your suggestion that he has is scandalous, grossly offensive, and seriously defamatory of him."
Story number 4, McDonald's Corp wants to have 50,000 locations globally by 2027 as the fast food giant starts on its fastest expansion surge in history.
It currently has 41,000 restaurants all over the world, including more than 1,000 in Australia. It wants to open 2,000 more in the next month. Now, some of them will be delivery or drive-through, but mostly they're the traditional McDonald's format. Sales at the company owned and franchise stores will hit about $130 billion this year. It's added about 5,000 restaurants in the past decade, a lot of the growth in places like China and Brazil. The company's also investing in its core menu items. Chicken now accounts for $25 billion system-wide. That's on par with beef. It's all those nuggets, Michael. McDonald's also looking to increase users of its loyalty program. It's already got 150 million on the program, wants 250 million. Apparently, if you're on the program, you you spend twice as much on average as other guests.
Now, Sean, story number 5. If you're sick of spending half your day sitting in meetings, you're not alone. Apparently, spending more than 2 hours a day in meetings can hurt productivity, according to a new survey, with people stuck on Zoom calls and in conference rooms for over that time, less able to concentrate.
The survey of more than 10,000 desk workers globally, including from Australia, was done by Salesforce-owned Slack Technologies. It found that 2 hours of meetings was a tipping point for most. Those who spent too much time on Zoom calls or in a conference room were more than twice as likely to say they didn't have enough time to focus on the work that really matters. More than half of executives polled said they had too many meetings. 27% of rank and file workers agreed. The effects were the same whether the meetings were virtual or in person. Surprisingly, Michael, the survey also found that a small slice of the workforce, typically younger employees or those with less than a year in a job, think they spend too little time in meetings.
Oh, there you go. The top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
It's Friday, the 8th of December, 2023. Remember to hit follow on the podcast, and if 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed Business News wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.